So everyone, welcome back to another video. It's been a long time coming, but I'm finally getting around to answer all the business questions everyone had when I put my first Business Talk episode out just before the COVID pandemic. So if you've been an early subscriber to the YouTube channel, or you've gone back through the old videos that I'd done when I first started this about 18 months to 2 years ago, you'd know that I'd done a Business Talk episode where I basically went through how I started a mobile valet business at 18, everything that went into it, all the background and how it got to where it is today, about the background and what's gone into it, sort of thing. And then with that, I had loads of questions on the business. There was loads of DMs and stuff with questions and what people asked, which I wrote down. But this was probably about January, February time to 2020, so just before obviously the COVID situation hit. And then with the COVID situation, because everything was all up in the air, I never got around to doing it. And then obviously everything started getting busier again, so again didn't get around to doing it. Anyway, so now's the time to finally get around to answering these unanswered questions that everyone had, and I've also chucked in a couple of extra little questions that people might have that I think it might be worth answering. Another reason why I'm doing this, I spoke about a year ago where I was really looking at doing podcasts. Obviously this year I haven't done anything to do with that whatsoever. It was on my bucket list for this year, but it's something I've not actually ticked off, and that is something I'm looking at starting doing. Wait for the money train to go past. That is something I'm looking at doing in the next sort of 6 months, maybe even sooner, just to start to do a few podcasts with maybe some local entrepreneurs, some younger people in business, and maybe just some general people just hear about their life stories as well, because it is something that I'm really keen to look at doing as part of like a little side series on the YouTube channel. It's something for me then to learn about different people. And it's something I want to do because it's something that will be out of my comfort zone, and yeah, it'd be interesting to meet new people, learn more about people, and be able to sort of up my comfort zone in the sense that I'll be sort of interviewing someone, which I've never done before. I'm not really confident doing stuff like that, but it'll be something for me to learn on and then just see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but quite hopeful that it will. But that is a plan for the next 6 months. So as part of that, I want to start doing a little bit about myself, talking about myself to do with the business, any challenges that I've come across in the business, all the positives and negatives and stuff like that. And then in the near future I'll get other people talking to, seeing what their journey is in business or just general life, and then we'll go from there. So it's probably going to be quite a long video, so obviously get your brew ready, make sure it's Yorkshire tea, and if you're looking to learn more about business, looking to learn more about how I started, and it will be touching on things that I spoke about in my first video on the Business Talk episode, but I'll be talking to you about things that's happened in the last 2 years, and things that I've come across and things that I've faced recently. So, like I said, it's going to be a long video, so make sure you're comfortable, and yeah, hope you enjoy what I'm going to talk about. So, I've got a list of questions. Like I said, that you all asked, that I wrote down ages ago, and I've also had a couple extra myself. So just a brief intro. My name's Talasi. And this is my business, Talasi's Detailing, which I would have spoke about, which you would have seen. The channel is basically focused around obviously my detailing business, which is Talasi's Detailing. So those who don't know what detailing is, or newly subscribed to it, not too sure what I'm doing in it. So I offer mobile valeting, unit-based detailing work. We do a bit of tinting. Started a bit of a shop behind me, which has also led on to me building Detailing Academy, which another reason why is because all the questions that I've been having on YouTube since starting the YouTube channel, it's now led me to develop my own training academy to help people and push people in the right direction for a detailing career, and also help them out in general business stuff. So that's sort of my background. I've been doing this since 2016 part-time, where I was employed as well, doing a bit of window cleaning and stuff. And then from January, February 2017, I went off full-time, chucked myself in the deep end, and then just started the business from there. Bear in mind, I was very new to business. I had no business experience whatsoever. I came from a 2-year sport course, a level 3 BTEC sport course, which was nothing to do with business, and yeah, just jumped straight into the business side of it. My background is that I was working for people, never liked being told what to do or have that extra authority of having a boss, so I decided to just go off on my own and do my own thing, and that's how it's better. Some people like that work environment of like being employed, and there's nothing against that whatsoever. I'm not saying like a business is for everyone, because some people who are employed absolutely love it, they have a really good career out of it, and they got some really good benefits to give them the incentive to keep at being in an employed role. But for me, I just didn't like it. I liked a bit more. I like to be able to just basically do what I want when I want, sort of thing. And obviously, being self-employed, having my own business, makes me do that. So, obviously, I started Talasi's detailing, all fully mobile. In a little, started first in my Vauxhall Corsa, 2002 Vauxhall Corsa, then got a little Blingo, and then worked from there. Got my Vauxhall Vario, which I've got now, got that all signed right in, and then recently got it fully wrapped in a proper like branded livery, which actually looks really sick, which I'm really happy with. So that's a little background, which I'll touch a little bit more about in some of the questions, because there's no point going into it. But so obviously if you're looking at starting a business, if you want to find out a little bit more about what goes into a business, then this video is hopefully for you. So a question you might have is, what does it take to start a business? So obviously first you're going to need an idea, you're going to need sort of a reason why, and you're going to sort of need a long-term plan into, is this actually going to work, and is it going to be worthwhile to spend all your time and all your money sort of investing into? So obviously, what does it take to start? You need firstly an idea. You need to see if there's sort of a gap in the market to work this business in. If there's an area where you think actually this hasn't been done, or it's been done and you think you could do it better, then that's probably the best way to start. Sometimes you just fall into things. You could be, I think especially with the lockdown and stuff, people have found that you might have seen Instagram bakers and stuff, they've absolutely blown up in lockdown. They've basically just found themselves doing that. Obviously, because of lockdown, they started baking, put it on Instagram. More and more people started getting interested. They started to sell more, then they created a business out of it. 3 years ago, they probably would never thought that they was going to create a business baking cakes and all sorts of stuff. So sometimes you just find yourself in a situation, and then that's when your moment, and you'll click, and then you'll think this is the thing to do. So you've got to seize every opportunity that you get, and you've got to work out in that situation if it is something that you can do as a future career. And yeah, like I say, it could be something that you've always grown up wanted to do a business, or it could be something that you might not necessarily know, and then it'll just click, and then you'll finally start your progress and your path to starting your own business. That's basically what I done. Obviously, like I said, 2-year course in BTEC Sport. I was going to go to university and do sport business, because the idea was maybe to create my own gym or something like that. So I had sort of an idea of what I was going to do, but at the same time I wasn't really, and then got my first car, fell in love with that, and then built a business from there. So I didn't necessarily know I was going to start a business, but as soon as I had a car, I remember at the time I had a little Vauxhall Corsa, and I remember the exact time I thought about starting a business. I was doing some work for friends, and I was in the car with my girlfriend at the time, and I actually remember the conversation where I said, I could probably start a business from this, I could start making money from this, and I could be pretty much my own boss, I could do what I want. Like, that's if I get the work then. That basically gave me the motivation to do basically what I wanted to. The other things that it takes to start a business, as well as an idea, you do need to have it in you, where you need the mindset, you need the motivation, and you need the sort of force that's going to give you the extra drive in situations where you're going to really need it. Because there's going to be times where you're in a really bad place, you're not making any money, or you're just going through a rough patch, and you do really need that drive and that inner strength in you to try and do really well despite the situations and circumstances that you could be in. So there's a lot more as well, other than just finding an idea that is going to help you start a business. Obviously you need an idea, great. You need to see if it's going to be scalable, great. You need to set some goals to make sure that it's going to work, but you also really need to have tough, thick skin. You need to be pretty ruthless, pretty relentless, make a lot of sacrifices, work hard, which I'll also touch on in some of these questions, because there's some sort of myths and some sort of unanswered questions around sort of working hard, being relentless, taking sacrifices, etc. You might also be asking, when should you start? You might ask me, what made me start? So I think there's never probably a bad time to start. You can start anytime you want. I speak to people, and especially doing this role, I come across people, and I actually remember a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago who was basically been working from home in like an office job, and they're having a conversation with me saying, I'd really like to start my own business, but I just don't know what, and I'm afraid I'm too old now. And I said, how old are you? Because he looked quite young. He said he was 30 odd. I said, people start businesses at whatever age. Some people start businesses at 50. I'm pretty sure there's actors such as like Mark Wahlberg, Morgan Freeman, and people like that didn't actually blow up until they're like late 30s, early 40s or something like that. I'm pretty sure Morgan Freeman didn't until he was quite late on. I'm pretty sure Mark Wahlberg, if you look at Mark Wahlberg, he was sent to prison and all sorts of stuff, and I don't think he developed his career until sort of late 20s, early 30s. So there's never a bad time to start. Some people get confused, or some people get mixed up with the sort of outside noise of it and think that they'll never be able to start and they'll never carry on with their dream because they don't think they're the right age or don't think it's the right time to start. I think the problem is with some people as well is you've got priorities. I think the later on in life you leave it, the harder it is. So I'm young, I started my business sort of 18, 19. I had a flat and stuff, but I didn't have any kids, I didn't have a wife, and I didn't have all them extra responsibilities like you do when you're older. So I think the best time to start is when you're younger. It makes it a little bit easier for you, I think. It's still going to be hard, but it just makes it a little bit easier in the sense that you've got no mortgage to pay for, you've got no priorities. And if you live at home with your parents and stuff, or guardian or whatever, then that's probably the best time to start. You've got no massive outgoings, no massive bills. You want to keep your overheads low, and that's probably the best time to start. But obviously the later on in life you leave it, you're going to get a mortgage, you're going to have kids, you're going to have a wife, and all of them things. So it's going to be a lot harder to start a business later on in life, but people still do it. You've got to find the right people around you to give you that extra support and motivation to do it. A big question that, and a lot of people ask me, is how much time have I spent on this business, and how much time will say you need to spend on a business? And the answer is every single minute of the day. You're going to need to spend every last minute you've got to try and make your business work, and you're going to need people around you that understand that and appreciate that as well. So like me personally, it's probably not the best way to do it, but I've spent a lot of time, spent all my time, took a lot of sacrifices to get to where I am. Some things I regret, some things might not have paid off, but other things have paid off. So the time that you spend in it is the most important. I always think if like you're trying to get really fit and healthy, the more time and the more energy that you put into getting fit and healthy, the quicker that you'll get fit and healthier, and the more the results will come as well. So the results are going to come quicker, and it's going to be a lot easier once you start getting the ball rolling. So same with business. If you're just doing little bits here and there, it's going to take longer to get to where you want. It's going to take longer for things to come to you, and it's just going to be a lot harder if you don't focus all your time and all your energy into it. I think you do need that balance though, where you do have sort of own time for yourself. But I'm not one to sort of preach about that, because it's not something I'm currently doing. It's something I'm working on. I'm trying to work on a work-life balance, but at this stage it's not really something I can preach about and say you need this work-life balance, this is how you do it, etc, etc, because my work-life balance is completely off. I'm working all the time. I am working on this balance. I'm trying to work on more time with myself, and trying to work out more times just so I don't get burned out, which I'll cover in another topic. But I feel like I can't really preach about having this work-life balance, because it's not something that I actually have at the minute, but it's something I'm working on. But time, most importantly, spend as long as you can doing it. Do all the research first, do everything that you need to first, and then that will help you later on when you start to look at starting your business. What I would say is create a plan, and make sure you get every last bit down. Think about every last bit that you could possibly think of. What things go wrong, what things go right, how to invest, how to save money for rainy days, etc, etc. You really need to make sure the foundations are down first. It's like if you build a house. If you start to work on the foundations of a house and you sort of miss bits and you don't do this and you don't do that, you start putting the bricks on, etc, and you start having a little bit of movement and the whole thing comes crashing down. What you want to do with your business, same process. All the foundations that you could possibly think of, bank accounts, tax, all these different things that you might think that you need to know, price and shipping, all this sort of stuff. Make sure you get everything down, you know exactly what's what, and you've got a plan in place. Because like I say, the last thing you want to do is create crappy foundations and then it all just come tumbling down. But yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit on time. Obviously, the more I do these, the more I can go into a bit more detail. If anyone wants a bit more information on some of the questions, or if anyone's got any other questions, then just fire in the comments down below and I'll answer them. But next question: did I ever think it wasn't going to work out? All the time. And you're going to think this is, what if it doesn't work out? And I think that you've always got to have that in the back of your mind, but you've got to sort of use that as a bit of a motivation as well. If you come into a situation where you think, I don't think this is going to work, or something's happened where you think it could all change at any minute, you've got to use that fire, use that motivation to make you succeed, make you do better, and that'll help you in the future. There's always times, always moments where you think, is this even worth it, or is this actually going to work out? Is this going to get to where I want to be? And you will always have them moments, but I think the most important thing that you can do is just try and have this good, positive mindset. Always think positively, which is easy to say because I sometimes think negatively, but I think the more positive thoughts that you think, the more sort of positive things you attract. And if you're constantly saying like, I can't do this, or this ain't going to happen, chances are it's not going to happen. The more you say, like, even if it's something you think in your mind is virtually impossible to get, just say, I can easily achieve that, I can get to that. And it'll just make things a lot easier, it'll give you that mindset. So, for example, you might say, I can't afford all my outgoings this month. The more you say that, the more you're not going to be able to do it. If you just say, look, say, I can afford this, I can do this, give yourself that extra positive mindset, the chances are you'll succeed that a little bit more and it will help you along the line. So have a really good positive mindset, but there will be times where you think, is this even worth it? And you will have them doubts, but you've got to sort of use that, spin it around and create a bit of motivation from it. Was there any risks involved in starting the business? And is there going to be any risks involved when you start the business? Of course. This is quite a common question people ask, is what the risk of starting your business, or did you find there was any risks? The whole element of the business side of it, it's just risks all the time, and you've got to be really calculated with the risks you take, and what moves that you make to where you're trying to go. So there's been times where I've sort of rolled the dice and just hoped for the best, which sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes you've got to be really calculated with the risk. There's always a risk though. If you think you're starting a business and you've got priorities, you're going to start a business, and the risk is, say if you've got a house, the risk is I'll potentially not make any money and not be able to afford the payments on my house. Or if you've got a car, same principle. So there's always going to be risks in business. You've got to be really calculated with what you're going to do. And if you really think something's not going to work out and you're adamant that's not going to work out, don't chance it. Obviously you don't want to put yourself in that position, but there will be times where you think that something is going to work out and you just haven't seen it, or you haven't looked at it properly, and it doesn't work out. So there's always a risk in business. I've come across so many risks. And yeah, so like I say, some have paid off, some have not. So for example, like I'm looking at taking on staff member from November the 1st. That is a risk. Obviously you've got another person to think about. You've got to make sure that you've got them finances there for them. It is a risk, but it's calculated, it's going to pay off, and it frees up a lot more time, which I'll go into a little bit about staff in another question. So we'll touch on delegating time and should you delegate in business. The question I got asked was, do you outsource anything to anyone else? So in terms of this can mean anything to anyone in various different businesses. Also, I'm talking on sort of like a whole, but it's basically personal experience of what I've come across. So you might find that you're trying to do everything, and this is one of my problems that I had right in the beginning, and something that I'm working on now, and something that I've been working on the last year to sort of change, and which will help me in the future. So delegating your time to others and delegating tasks to others where you might feel you're not as good at. So for example, even little things. So there's some media bits that I do for Instagram on myself, but there's also some bits that I outsource to other people, graphic designers, to sort out business cards and stuff like that, because I think if they're charging me, I don't know, say £30 to do it, I could just give them the ideas, they've done it. The time it would have taken me, it probably would have been like 4 hours, half my day, haven't sorted out any work, and sort of spent all that time trying to do something I'm not necessarily very good at it, whereas I would just pay someone to do it. The process is a lot easier, it's a lot quicker, and in that time I've gone out and earned myself some money doing some work, they've done their bit, and it's all done, it's all dusted. So I think there is things that you've got to sort of delegate out and give to other people to help benefit you in other ways. The problem is with businesses and being an entrepreneur as such, you'll feel like you've got to do everything, and I did, especially in the first stages of the business, first couple of years, and it's something I've really sort of looked at in the last sort of year to 2 years, where I thought actually I need to change this. So there is things like just general things, like I say, admin, anything like that, where you think actually I could probably pay someone else to do this, it's probably your best option to do it. So for example, like I said, I'm taking on a staff member, but the problem is with me working on my own at the minute, I'm trying to do the jobs, the actual physical work, booking in the work, speaking to the customers, making sure everything's alright, sorting out the social media, sorting out the YouTube, the video editing, etc, etc. So there's obviously been times in the past with the video editing where I've sort of outsourced that to other people, such as Felix. He edits the videos, gets them all done, and the time he takes to do it would be a lot less than mine. and that's the way you sort of got to look at it. And in the future as well, I spoke about recently that I want to get someone else on the video editing side of it, because I've got to delegate my time to other people as such. So if I'm trying to do the jobs, I can't necessarily film and edit the video all at once. So like I've got to sort of get someone else on the editing in full time, get them to do that, and it frees up a bit more time for me to then focus what I'm good at in other areas. So I'm looking at sort of progressing onto the business, looking at taking on obviously someone from November the 1st, training them up to be out mobile, and then I can work on other areas in the unit. I can work on my strengths, and while someone else is working on their strengths elsewhere. So you have got to delegate your time to others in order to succeed, and you've got to remember that you can't do everything on your own. So what is something I tell my past self? So I think the lessons I've learned recently would probably be what I tell myself. So obviously about delegating time, having a work-life balance, not putting myself under so much pressure, and not comparing to anyone else, and just general bits and bobs like that really. So not comparing to anyone else, we'll touch on this a bit. So the problem is with business and stuff, you'll come across times where you'll sort of compare yourself to other people, and even not necessarily business, personal life. Let's touch on a little bit about personal life. So Instagram's such a big thing at the minute and all that sort of stuff, TikTok, etc. But Instagram is basically a platform to show your highlights. You never show the problems that you have, and you never show any weaknesses that you have. And the problem is with Instagram that I speak to loads of people about, everyone's constantly comparing themselves to other people. You might have a black car, and then you look at someone with a black car with nicer wheels or something like that, and you think, I want a black car with nicer wheels, and you start comparing. Even though you're happy with your black car, you've seen someone else with this black car with nicer wheels, and you start comparing yourself to it. And I think that's the problem with business. You might look at, so for example, you might have started a business, someone might have started a business at the same time. You both are going in two completely different directions, and you're sort of comparing yourself to them, even though that you're on your own path and they're on their own path, sort of thing. So there's so many times where you really sort of compare yourself with the movements that you got and the way that things are going. Like I look at some people, so there's obviously some really big companies who have been around for years and years and years, and they're doing loads of different things. Their units, mega, they're doing PPF, etc., etc. And so sometimes I look at myself and think, God, I've been doing this 5 years. Why am I not doing that? But at the same time, I think everyone's path is completely different. Everyone's business is completely different. Everyone's funding is completely different. Everyone's had a different life. I'm not fully self-sufficient or whatever. Someone else might have a few different people investing into the business, etc. So there's times where you just got to focus on yourself and not compare yourself to anyone else. And personally as well, with your personal life, don't compare yourself to other people on Instagram. Right, I just had to sort something out, so the position of the camera might have changed or whatever, and I've made myself a fresh cup of tea. But yeah, I was onto the subject of what could I tell my past self, and talking about comparing others, and that was both on a personal basis and on a business basis. There's no point in comparing yourself to anyone else. You're on your own path, you're in your own lane, you're sorting your own things out, and you've got your own things coming for you, and you'll have your own things going on that will determine the situation that you're in. Everyone's completely different, and it's an important lesson not to compare yourself to anyone else. I think another couple of things that I tell my past self is not everyone's got the same sort of like mindset or intentions as myself, and it's the same for anyone else. If someone's giving you an opportunity, or you're giving someone an opportunity, not everyone is going to take it how you want it. Not everyone's going to have the same mindset and passion as yourself. So there's been times in the past where I've sort of gave things to people or done things for people, gave people opportunities, and or expected things from people, and they've not lived up to it. And I think sometimes you just got to, and you give some people chances or whatever, and I think sometimes you've got to really reevaluate the situation that you're in and make sure that you're 100% confident with the situation you're in, and realise that not everyone's opportunities are as what they say, and not every opportunity you give someone they're going to take as much as you think it's a really good opportunity. Some people just won't take it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure and stuff, and there's a lot more to it that I could go into a bit more detail, but I've got to keep it quite short and quite sweet, even though this is going to be a long video. But yeah, a couple of lessons obviously. Don't compare yourself. Not everyone's going to have the same intentions and want and desire as you, and you just got to take some people with a pinch of salt, and and yeah, just try and work on a bit of a work-life balance, which I'm working on at the minute, and not feel so pressured to succeed. Even though I do want to succeed and I do want to do well, I do give myself a lot of pressure and put myself under a lot of pressure to try and do well and do succeed. And I'm not enjoying the process. I think one of the most important things as well is you've got to learn to enjoy the process. I am on the path to learning the process and learning to enjoy the process, but I'm still not 100% there yet. And I'm always thinking about the next thing, and that's my problem actually, which we'll touch on. So my problem is that I'm always focused on the next thing. I'll get to one thing and I'm automatically thinking about the next thing, and I haven't fully been grateful for the process. Haven't really thought about the process. I'm always just thinking about the next thing, which can be sort of quite, not upsetting, but it can be a bit of a downer, because you're never satisfied. I'm never satisfied. Like I do one thing and then I'm like, right, now on to the next thing, and I'm focusing so much to get to the next part of my life where I haven't necessarily thought about or appreciated the process that I've been currently on. So there's a lot more to it than just like cleaning cars. There's a lot more in business, and there's a lot more to the whole process of it, and there's a lot more goes on. Like there's a lot more that goes on personally with it that can have a bit of an effect. And I think I am always chasing that next big thing, and I've got to learn to enjoy the process. What are the problems in business and what are the problems I face? So as much as I put up stories every single day on my Instagram and stuff of like the cars that I'm doing, I've done this, I've done that, we've been doing it this week, every single day there is a problem without fail. There's problems every day in business. You'll always have problems, but obviously, like I said a minute ago, Instagram, you only put up your sort of highlights and stuff. And I do try and be quite transparent and say the problems and stuff, but some people the algorithm's crap. The thing is with Instagram and social media, you've got to put up all this flashy stuff that you're doing, otherwise you just won't be seen. So I do try and be a bit honest with customers and be a bit honest with following, like, today's been crap, weather's been crap, I haven't done anything, blah blah blah, or equipment's broke today, etc etc, because I don't think you can be or give out this persona that everything's going right all the time, because there's always things going wrong. So let's look at some examples this week that have gone wrong. Some jobs, I missed out one job, so I've moved everything over to like an online booking thing where I just pencil it in all online. I missed a customer out, and then it got to Monday, Tuesday this week, they said, oh, we're still on for Friday. And I was like, crap, I forgot to book you in, or I forgot to rebook you in because I've moved everything. So that means I had to move a couple of jobs around, and I've got one regular customer that I was supposed to do Friday, I didn't end up doing. Snow foam lamps broke, so halfway through the job on Friday, and then I went to use the snow foam lamps, and then obviously it's got clogged up, it's got all crapped up, so it's no longer producing snow foam, so I had to work around that. And then obviously just had some other issues in terms of like, I've changed the pricing strategy recently, and I've had some problems around that, which has not been ideal. But every day there's a problem, and I think you've got to be quite transparent, and you're always going to have problems in business, but it's how you overcome it and how you work on it. And the best thing that you can ever do is learn from your mistakes. So don't think it's going to be an easy ride. There'll be times where you think, I always think for every successful thing that I've got or achieved, or every successful thing that's gone right, there's been like 10 problems before that I've got to that. So work on your mistakes, understand that you're going to have problems, but like I said earlier about using that as a bit of a motivation, use the problems, use the hardness, use the failure as a motivation to succeed even more. Another question I often get is, do I set goals, and should you set goals? I personally think that you should. I think it's always good to have some goals. Obviously it come from a sport background where I was learning all aspects of sport, and one of the aspects of sport is setting long-term, short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. And it's always good to have sort of like a monthly goal, 3 to 6 month goal, and anything long-term from like 6 months to like 5 years or whatever it may be. I do think it's really good to have some goals just so you know where you're going and what you can achieve. But obviously my problem is, like I've just touched on, I'm always setting goals, I'm always thinking about the next thing, and I'm not sort of appreciating the process, and I'm not 100% happy with everything, and I'm just never satisfied. So, but I think it's good to set goals, because then you know sort of what you're working towards, and where you're going, and it gives you that bit of motivation to do well. Everyone should have goals in their business, saying, I want to get to this amount by this time, or I want to have X amount of employees by this time, etc etc, or I want this brand deal, or I want to be linked with this person this time. Whatever it may be, I think it's really good to set goals, even if it's little goals like I want to have, I don't know, say if with YouTube, I want to have 2 videos every week in the next month. Anything like that. Anything could be a goal depending on what you want, but I do think it's really important to set goals. And since day one, I've always set goals to my business, and I've actually got an old diary which I might pull out at some point, an old business plan book. It's basically like a journal into what I wanted, and I've got all my short-term, medium and long-term goals. If that's something that you want to see, bear in mind this was probably 2015 that I'd done this, but I have got it. I did dig it out the other month, and it's got all my short-term, medium-term and long-term goals in there. And it's interesting to see what I sort of wanted, where I wanted the business to go before I actually even really started the business. And I've also got like, as a little throwback, I've got like old business name and all these other little bits and bobs which I could dig out at some point and show you all if you would be interested in that. So if you're interested in sort of my old goals to see what I sort of was writing down when I first started, and then I'll talk to you about how I achieved them and stuff, that might be a good little video as well. So when did I start making money, or when can you start making money? You can make money from whatever point. You've got to look at the business. Say if you're starting a business that's not valeting related, you've got to look at, is it going to make money? How is it going to make money, etc. With the valet and detailing business, you know you make money from cleaning cars, and also now obviously I'm selling products, so make a bit of money off that, etc., etc. So you've got to look at where you're going to make money and how you are going to make money doing that, and how you can make more money off of it. So for example, you could do a valet for someone, and then it might be £60 and you want to make a bit more, and you could say, we'll chuck on an extra wax, we'll chuck on this, it'll cost this, engine bay detail, whatever it may be. That's a way to make a bit of extra money. If you're selling a product, you might sell them, if you're in the beauty industry, you might sell them one product, one other product might go with it. You could say, look, buy this, you can have that, it'll be this price. In the detailing industry, it's, oh, you want a shampoo, do you want a wheel cleaner with that as well? And you can make money like that, depending on what route and what avenue you're going down, if it's a product or a service. If it's a service, obviously, don't try and sell them everything, but if you might look at a job, you might look at a car and say, actually, this might need this is the price. If you have it with this, that'll be the price as well. So that's the way to make money. But obviously, don't forget that these £60 valets or these £120 valets that we do, it's not like I'm getting £120 and I've got nothing to pay out of that. The thing is with it, you won't start making a profit. Everyone's different in this sense as well. You won't start making a profit straight away. Some people get really lucky and make a profit like instantly. They have no problems, no stress whatsoever, or they have problems, but they just have like no problems making a decent profit from day one. Other people, they might not see a profit for like 3 to 5 years. They say a business is fully established after 3 years, and that's when you'll probably be seeing it. I'm making money now and I'm making profit now, but I'm constantly reinvesting back into it, and this is sort of my problem at the minute, where not a problem because I think it's good to reinvest, but I'm literally reinvesting everything back into it. I don't have a lot for myself personally, but I'm always reinvesting back into the business to see where it goes, because I think the earlier I can reinvest, the better the long-term sort of goals and the long-term benefits that it will be. But you can make money in so many different ways depending on what you're doing, but remember at the same time you're going to have a lot to pay out for example. So if you look at what I've got to pay out for, I've got a unit to rent, a van to run, insurances to pay out for, products to pay out for, like personal insurances to pay out for, I've got all my personal bills to pay out for, etc, etc. The list goes on and on and on. So when you see these prices and customers say, God, £60 or £120, it's like, well, I'm not just getting £120 and just stashing that and then that's it. I've got all these other things to pay for, and you've got to make profit as well. That's the one thing that's really important. You have to make profit. And I think the thing is as well, what you want to try and do is when you're working on your business plan is make sure that your pricing is how you want it to be for the foreseeable. My problem was I started off too cheap. So my pricing was too cheap, and then I gradually worked it up, and then I just left it for a little bit. And even though I was thinking I'm doing these for too cheap, I'll still carry on doing it. And in the last sort of 2 years, I've really reevaluated my prices. In the last 6 months, I've gone even steeper with my prices because I think I've spent a lot of time doing this. I've invested a lot of time into training, etc. My prices need to be what I want them to be. Even if people don't like it, your price is your price, and it will sort of fizz out the people that don't want to pay. And the majority of people will want to pay because, especially with me, for example, I've been around for a while, I've got a good reputation, people like to see me come, people like my work and stuff, so they are willing to pay the money. But try and make your pricing, Try and keep your pricing the same from day one. Make sure that you get a really good price. Don't go too cheap, because it is really hard to sort of work from that, which I found out because I started off too cheap, and then you've got to try and educate customers on why it's going up, etc., etc. So you do want to keep that pricing good from day one, because it will really help you out in the future. Because when you do end up putting your prices up, it can get a bit awkward, etc., which is not always what you want. And then we'll talk on how to gain customers. So it's so easy to get customers. The best way to get customers, and the best way I've found to get customers, is word of mouth. Do a really good job for someone, go above and beyond, and they're always going to recommend you to someone. Obviously, mine's valet and detail info. Make sure the car's on point, and it's not just a case of making the cars on point. You've got to have that really good relationship with the customer. You've got to treat them how you want to be treated, go that extra mile with them, and then they'll always look out for you, and you always look out for them. So you've got to gain a really good relationship with the customer, because that will then lead on to, they might know a friend that wants something doing. They say, yeah, Talasi's a really good bloke, he does the car really well, and he's such a polite young person, he's such a polite person, he's a pleasure to have at the house, etc. So create that relationship with people, make sure that you always do a good job, go above and beyond for people, and it will pay off in the future. Social media is such a big thing at the minute. Get all over social media. It's free to use. You can sponsor the ads and stuff if you want to, but we don't generally do it. But I'm going to look at starting doing stuff like that, just because I think it might be beneficial to sponsor some stuff. But social media, tag the people in it. So say if you're doing the work for James Smith, you can say, have you got an Instagram, James Smith? Yes, I have. Can I tag you in it? Yes, please. And then you can say, all right, I'll put an Instagram post up. I'll tag James Smith in it. He'll repost it to his story. He's got 200 followers on Instagram. Potential up to, say, 50% of them people will see it. 100 people, they might see that. 2 people might book in. But that's 2 more people that you didn't necessarily have if you didn't do that. So use social media to your advantage. Tag people on Instagram. I was worried at first. So when I first started the business, I was really cautious of everything. I'd never tagged anyone in anything. And the last 2 years, I've gone even further. Made sure everyone's tagged if they want to be. But you have got to be cautious at the same time. Not everyone wants to be tagged. Not everyone wants to be linked to certain things. So you have got to get their thoughts on that first. But use social media to your advantage. You can gain so much free work from that, and also have a Google. Make sure you get some good reviews. Speak to all your customers after. Make sure they're happy with it. If they're happy with it, say, look, can you leave me a review? If you're selling products or whatever, always get people's feedback on that and get them to leave you a review, because that will boost your rankings higher and higher. The more reviews you have, the more people that will want to book in. So there's so many ways to gain customers. Social media, word of mouth is most important. And just be a good, honest person. Offer a really good service or product. Be passionate about that service or product, because that will then follow through, and people will understand your passion. People will see how passionate you are, and they'll sort of buy into that as well. Is there much competition in business? Yes, there's loads of competition in business, and you've got to use that to your advantage. So you might be selling a product, someone else might be selling a product. You've got to look at ways to make that better. If you're looking at someone else and thinking, I want to start this business, but I'm going to be in competition with them, just try and do it better. That's the best way you can do. You're always going to have competition in business. You're always going to have people trying to replicate what you're doing, and you might even take ideas of other people, which could be seen as obviously replicating what they're doing. So competition in business is healthy. I think it can give you that extra drive and that extra motivation to do better, it can be quite healthy. But then it can be quite unhealthy, because there is obviously some people that will try and obviously copy everything that you're doing and every last little bit of detail, which obviously we experience as well, which is not ideal. We've got people that copy literally every move and everything that we do, which is not ideal, but it's part of the game. It's all part of the process. And the way I look at it as well, if someone is replicating every little last thing that you do, they'll always be one step behind. So it gives you that extra motivation, and you know for a fact they're following your lead. But everyone's in a different process, everyone's on a different path. I might have come across things that I've had to sort of jump leaps and bounds and loads of hurdles to get across, and if everyone's copying what you're doing and they're not necessarily aware of this, they can get caught up really quick. So what I'd say is, there's no friends in business, so you have got to have a limited amount of respect, because you don't want to be falling out with everyone, which some people do and some people are not that bothered about, and that's not always the way that I want to go down for things. But use other people in your area. If you're selling a product, if you're doing a service, have a look at the general consensus of other people in the area. Basically just see what you can do better, and then that will help you thrive even more. I want to talk about a little bit about the burnout stages of like being a business owner or whatever, and we'll probably leave this as one of the last subjects unless anyone else has any questions, and I can always touch on that in another video. So, do I get burned out? Simple answer is yes. Especially recently, I've been proper feeling it recently, where I have been feeling a little bit burnt out, which I'll sort of be open and honest about, because I think that's the best way to be. So you might be wondering what burnout, what does it look like, etc. So I've been feeling it recently where I've been feeling pretty burnt out. That's because I've been trying to do everything on my own, and I haven't had anyone else sort of delegate any other tasks to. So I've been trying to do everything, and it's taken its toll. The pressure's maxed by 100%, and there's a lot more going on. So you get burned out basically when you're trying to do too much. You're not necessarily enjoying what you're doing, and then that's when you get burnt out. You're giving yourself all this pressure to do more. And it's not healthy whatsoever. So what I've learned recently is when I'm burnt out is when I'm doing things where I'm not necessarily enjoying what I'm doing. So I'm doing all the mobile valeting, all the detailing, all the customer stuff, etc., etc. There's some elements of that I'd rather not do, and because I'm trying to do everything, I'm working like 7 days a week, all the hours of the day. I've been feeling pretty burnt out, which is obviously not healthy. So the way to overcome that is obviously delegate tasks to other people. Try and cut down on how much I'm doing. So say like with me personally, I've got to try and cut down how much I'm doing. Hopefully when I take someone for November the 1st, that will release a little bit of pressure off me to do certain things. I can delegate little things to them, and that will make it a lot easier for me, because sometimes I don't mind working all the hours, but if I'm working loads of hours doing things I don't necessarily enjoy, that's when I start to get burnt out. And I think sometimes you just need a good like week off or whatever, just to have a bit of a blowout, have a bit of a chill out, come away from work, and that's when you'll be really creative. So that's what I've sort of learnt recently. I've got to have some time off, think about where everything's going, have some proper time off to sit down where I'm not doing any sort of valet or detail, anything related, and I've got to have a proper sit down and work out where I want things to go, what things are not going right, what things are going right, and just working from there, because I think that's a good time to sort of reevaluate everything. It's just take some time off away from everything, have a really good reevaluate, and then you can work out where things obviously are going in the right direction, things that are holding you back, etc., etc. So there's times in business, as much as people think with me, and probably what they'll see just a general consensus on Instagram and stuff, because that's the way it is, that everything's going sweet, it's all hunky-dory, and I've got no problems whatsoever. Obviously, I've got problems there every day, like I've said. I work all the hours of the day, like I said. I haven't got a work-life balance, like I've said. So it's not all sweet and it's not all sunshine and roses. So obviously I have my problems. There's been times where I've been burnt out in the past. Recently I've been feeling like I've been a bit burnt out, and I'm working on taking some time out to sort of reevaluate everything and work out where things are going, so I think it's really good to do so. So there will be times where you sort of think it'll have a mental impact on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and I think that's just part of it. Like I said, you've got to have a really tough and solid mindset, a really thick skin, and just got to sort of ride through the wave, because you'll always come through these stormy patches, and it's just working on getting through them bits, and as soon as you come out the other side, it'll be a lot better, it'll be a lot nicer. So yeah, I just thought I'd give you a bit of an honest insight into sort of how I feel sometimes, and what sort of burnout sort of means to me, and how I obviously look at overcoming it with a bit of time out. So I think that's everything covered in what I wanted to talk about. There's obviously a lot more questions, business related questions that people want to know. I might do a few more of these series, episodes, etc. If anyone's got any more questions, anyone wants me to touch on anything else that I spoke about, and hope it gives people a bit of an insight into like my process, my journey, and it might give them a bit of motivation to, and a bit more insight into doing their own thing and starting your own business potentially, if you're looking at doing that, because chances are initially you've started your own business, or you're looking to start your own business, and you want to obviously learn more about some of them bits. But like I said, there's so many more questions that I'd love to answer, so if you've got any questions, give me a shout on Instagram, comment down below, and I'd love to get back to them. And like I said, in the future I'll probably try and get a few more people involved, like maybe obviously just get one person in, ask them about their business experience, ask them some of the questions that you've got, and then just get their general consensus on the ideas, because then I can learn, you can learn, and we're all winners basically. And everyone's got different ideas, everyone's got different opinions on business, everyone's got different answers to it, everyone's got a different process, everyone's gone down a completely different path, like I've touched on in this video. So it'll be really interesting to learn about others. So I've probably kept you for nearly an hour. I reckon it's probably going to be quite a long video, but hopefully it's given you an insight into everything that goes on and answers all them unanswered questions. And sorry it's been so long. Obviously, if you're looking to learn more about business, if you're looking to have, if you like this video and you want me to discuss more about it, then please do let me know. All your support is much appreciated. I'll try and get back to everyone's questions in another video as well, and I'll try and reply back to all the comments. But yeah, support is much appreciated. Please do make sure that you give the video a like, share and subscribe it. Most importantly, 50% of the audience on this don't actually subscribe, so please do make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Check out all of my social medias, obviously on TikTok, Instagram, Talasi_May, Talasi_detailing. Recently gone back on Twitter where I want to reconnect and network a bit on that as well. That's Talasi_May. So check out all of that. And if you're looking to find out more about Talasi's detailing, check out our website, register your interest for any of the online courses that we're looking at doing. And yeah, I'll see you guys and girls on the next video, whatever that will be, I'm not too sure yet. See you again on the next one. Ciao.